Hey guys, what's up? It's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. I have spent the past few days reading Magnolia Parks, so let's talk about it and review it. This book is definitely really popping up on TikTok, on Bookstagram. It really kind of started over the summer. I have a few Bookstagram friends that I talked to a few times. They are also booktubers that love this book. Lachlan from Locke's Library, she, I think, is like the poster child, like heavily promoting this book. She loves this series so much. Nikki from Nikki's Book Nook, she just finished it recently and she's been kind of messaging me back and forth, convincing me to read it. So I figured it was time to finally throw my hat in the ring and get on this trend too. I do want to say that the ending of this book was spoiled for me back in July. One of my good book friends, she did spoil it for me because she was so upset when she read it. And I did ask her to spoil it for me because sometimes I like to know what I'm going into with a heartbreaking book ahead of time. I'm kind of that way with TV shows, just kind of anything that gives me high anxiety. Sometimes I like to know beforehand. So like I said, I knew the big ending going into it. It's what took me so long to finally pick it up. But whether you've read it or you haven't, pretty much a lot of romance readers know that this book has made people throw it across the room from the ending. So it made me skeptical, so it took me months to read it, but I finally picked it up. So I do have a non-spoiler and a spoiler review in here because I had a different perspective going into this, knowing the twist at the end, so it made me look for certain clues leading up to that. I kind of want to go in depth in detail and talk about that. For our non-spoiler review, Magnolia Parks is the first book in a found family companion novel kind of series. Right now there are currently 3 books. Magnolia Parks is the first, then you have Daisy Hates, and then Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home is the third. The best way to sum it up or describe it going into it is Gossip Girl meets London. BJ and Magnolia are 2 main characters. They are so Chuck and Blair with the toxicity.
3 words. 8 letters. Say it, and I'm yours.
And the chemistry and the passion and just always being bad for each other, but also being the only ones that understand each other and are good for each other, if you kind of catch my drift. So that basically is what you are set up going into. When the book starts off, it's been several years since Magnolia and BJ have been in a relationship. They were each other's basically first everything. They knew each other as little kids and they just had this first love, big all-time romance with each other that lasted for a long time. And in the first few chapters, you don't really know what's going on, why they aren't together anymore. All you know is that they have this push and pull with each other and that they can't let each other go. Well, you find out after some chapters that BJ did cheat on Magnolia in the past and she just has never been able to trust him again. Hence, she's never ever gotten back together with him since that initial incident. It definitely does have a found family trope aspect to it. Their friend group is very tight-knit. I really enjoyed them. I want more from them. Like I said, there's 3 books and Daisy Hates. She's not in the friend group. She's just with a guy that's in this current friend group. So I'm hoping that Jessa plans on more books with each of them, but it does have found family. BJ's brother is part of the group. Magnolia and her friend Paley are the only 2 girls in the group, but they're rich, they're wealthy, they're in London, they're not in school anymore, they're in their early 20s, so they're really just shopping and drinking, and like I said, it's Gossip Girl.
I'm Chuck Bass.
And basically this entire book is a push and pull of Magnolia and BJ. And what's really interesting about this relationship, I have to say, I have never read anything like this. I have never read anything close to it with just this push and pull that people have. And so obviously you have BJ that cheated on Magnolia 3 years ago and she just was never able to trust him again in taking him back. And so her answer for that is to still be with him all the time, but without actually being with him. So they have sleepovers every single night but there's no intimacy, there's no kissing. It's written in here that they have this no kissing rule because Magnolia says that when they kiss, they really kiss and there's no stopping it. It's like a skyrocket going off. And so it's just really interesting. They have their sleepovers, they watch National Geographic. Whenever Magnolia is upset, BJ is the one that comes running. In this book, Magnolia meets a guy named Tom, and Tom is kind of a guy that she has to start fake dating because he needs somebody to be a fake date person for him due to a situation he has going on. And Magnolia obviously still needs to get over BJ. And so she uses Tom in turn. And, you know, obviously when she's fake dating with Tom, she has things that go on with him too. And whenever she gets scared with him, she always runs to BJ. And it gets so interesting because everyone knows BJ and Magnolia are always going to run to each other and find each other. And I have to say, Tom was an outstanding guy because he liked Magnolia, but at the same time, when she was feeling sad and down, he would text BJ and be like, you need to come get her. She needs you. And I just thought that was really incredible. And anyway, they both have such this toxic pull to each other. They can only find comfort and solace in each other. But anytime they get so close to getting back together, Magnolia gets scared, and her answer for that is she dates other men. And then BJ gets upset about that, and then his answer for that is to go sleep with every girl that he can find. And it's just this continuous push and pull and this yo-yo effect, and it doesn't stop. This is a hefty book. It's about 500 pages, and this entire book was this push and pull, but it didn't get old. It didn't get tiring. It didn't get boring. Jessa was, these are some of the most beautifully written narrations I have ever seen. This is a heavy tabbed and annotated one. I did go heavy on it, but I just, like I said, I've never read anything like this, and I absolutely loved it. So those are kind of the non-spoiler reviews. Now I'm going to be talking about the spoiler parts of the book. There are certain things that I want to talk about here with just BJ and Magnolia's pull towards each other. So one of the first things that really, really got to me was the chapter where Magnolia is describing when BJ came home to her and told her that he slept with another girl, and she's talking about how she runs away into her bathroom and locks herself in there. Well, the entire time this is happening, Magnolia is on one side of the door breaking down and sobbing, and BJ's on the other side of the door breaking down and sobbing. And Magnolia describes it that he was having a panic attack. He was suffocating. His breathing went gaspy, and she finally had to open the door and sit in his lap and hold him and just look him in the eyes. And he had just cheated on her mere hours ago. And the fact that they were breaking up and the fact that he hurt him so much that he was having a panic attack. And that was just a wow. Another big chapter that I want to talk about that I loved, which once again is how Magnolia and BJ just can never get over each other. So you reach a certain point in the book where Magnolia is getting closer to Tom. She really finds herself having feelings for him, and there is an incident one night where Magnolia and BJ have an argument, whatever, like they always do. So BJ finds the nearest girl that he can, and he kind of basically starts fucking her in the bathroom in this restaurant. Well, Magnolia comes back for a hair clip or something, and she sees this going on, and she's never actually seen BJ hook up with another girl. She's just always known it's happened. And BJ makes eye contact with her and knows he screws up. Magnolia runs out of there, and she runs upstairs to Tom because they're in a hotel staying there, and she sleeps with Tom, and this is the first time that she has slept with anybody but BJ. And where it gets wild is, so you find out every tattoo that BJ Valentine has in this chapter. And it is Magnolia basically thinking and painting herself a picture of BJ's body while she's sleeping with Tom, and she ends up having a huge climax and orgasm to this. And she talks about how messed it up it is because she was sleeping with somebody else, but she was literally thinking of every detail of BJ's body while it was happening. And she broke down after all of that. And once again, that was just a wow moment. The final thing that I want to talk about is the big reveal at the end. So if you don't want to hear it, click away. But you find out in like the second to last chapter of this book that the girl that BJ had cheated on Magnolia with was Magnolia's best friend, Paley. And that was a huge betrayal in itself because it was her best friend. And you also find out that pretty much almost all of the friend group knew about it. And so what was interesting is because I knew that it was the best friend that did it the entire time, I was actually able to pick up on a few things that were dropped here and there in the book. One of the big things was that Magnolia had described a few times that when she would cry over BJ in her bed, sob and sob and sob, there were times that Paley would be right next to her just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And yes, you can interpret that as a good best friend being there for her best friend, but after reading the chapter and knowing it's guilt, Paley felt a lot of guilt. It's described in the flashback that she was breaking down and sobbing as soon as it was over. She regretted it. Like, she wasn't looking to steal BJ or anything. She knew she fucked up and she was freaking out about it. She was basically having a panic attack. And so when Magnolia is describing that every time she would break down and cry over BJ and Paley would be right next to her sobbing with her, that is guilt. And also every time Magnolia would text Paley, Paley would be like, are you getting back together? Like, Paley was very hopeful for this. And so I just thought that was very, very interesting and kind of gave me a different angle to look at it with. But I will have to say, even going into this book knowing the big thing at the end, it still does not take this away from being a 5-star read for me. This probably is going to go into one of my top reads of 2022. There's still a month and a half left of this year. I don't know, we will see. But overall, this was incredible. Like I said, never ever have I read anything close to this with a romance, with a push and pull toxicity. I need more. Like, this did not have a happy ending, and I'm okay with that. Normally, I'm only reading books with happy endings, but obviously there is more to come. Daisy Hates is arriving in a few days. I am very impatient for it, but this was Magnolia Parks, everyone. All right, that is going to do it for my review of Magnolia Parks. If you stuck around for this long, I highly appreciate it. Comment down below if you have read this and you have liked it. I know that pretty much if you have read this, you either really loved this or you didn't like it. Some people said that they do not like the toxicity. They are not here for it. However, I am a fucked up person with the books that I choose to read. So I loved it. I hope you did too, or you will if you decide to read it. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Bye!